So why is this heart shape the most famous symbol of love? I mean, really think about it. Calling it a heart shape in itself doesn't seem to make sense, because it doesn't even look like an actual human heart. There was a popular theory online saying that the shape represents two hearts combining into one. It does sound like a cool idea, but unfortunately, it's just not true, because we can prove that historically, this shape had existed in many cultures for thousands of years, while it had absolutely nothing to do with love or heart. You see, one of the earliest examples of this shape can be found on a coin from the ancient city of Cyrene, dating back to the 5th century BC. The symbol on the coin represented a seed from a fruit called Silphium, which is now believed to be extinct. The city of Cyrene got very wealthy from trading Silphium, and that is why they put a seed of Silphium, which looks like a modern shape of a heart, onto their currency. Now, there was speculation that Silphium was used as a food flavoring, cough syrup, and possibly can even be used as an early form of birth control. So, since the seed pod resembled the modern shape of a heart, many people had thought the association with love and sex might have popularized the heart symbol. However, this theory is also very unlikely to be true, because after Silphium had become extinct, the heart shape still continued to appear in many cultures around the world, yet it still did not represent love or human heart. One example can be found in Tehran from the 6th century BC. There was a silver dish with 4 female figures, 3 musicians and a dancer, decorated with grapes and ivies. These figures were separated by rows of heart-shaped symbols, but these shapes do not represent love or human hearts. They are more likely to be related to leaves and vines, and the silver dish was probably used for drinking. On top of that, in ancient Japan, these shapes also appear on many objects. It's a decorative symbol commonly used on the guard of a Japanese sword, Shinto shrines, Buddhist temples, castles, and even weapons. In their culture, this shape is known as inome, or the eye of a wild boar, believed to have the power to scare off evil spirits, protecting the area where the symbol is marked. Then, in ancient Greece, around 480 BC, a vase from the Reed figure period by the painter Macron also shows a figure decorated with heart-like shapes. Now, at first glance, it might seem like this figure could represent a god of love, but it actually depicts ivy leaves associated with Dionysus, the god of wine. Again, nothing to do with love or the heart. So, how did this shape become the most famous symbol of love? Well, we have to solve this mystery in 3 parts. How the heart becomes connected to love, how this shape becomes connected to the heart, and what happened in 1977. So, let's start with the first question. One of the earliest signs for the importance of the heart actually come from ancient Egypt. The Egyptians believed that the heart was the seat of the soul. In the afterlife, they thought a person's soul would be judged by weighing their heart against a feather of truth. So, if the heart was not pure and heavy with evil deeds, it would sink lower on the scale than the feather, and that person's soul would be eaten by a beast. But the idea of the heart being crucial to a person's identity also carried over into other cultures and religions. St. Augustine, one of the most important Christian bishops from the 4th century, also emphasized this concept of the heart. In his Confessions, he referred to the heart as its innermost self, expressing the need for a pure heart dedicated to God. Now, another fascinating belief about the heart was said to come from the ancient Romans. So, they used to believe that human has a vein called the vena amoris, or the vein of love, that ran directly from the 4th finger of the left hand straight to the heart. This idea is what led to the tradition of placing wedding rings on the 4th finger, also known as the ring finger. Now, even though we now know that this is not true, as there are no special veins that connect the ring finger directly to the heart, the idea of the ring finger has stuck and became a romantic idea that lasts for centuries. At the same time, the association of the heart with love also exists in other parts of the world. For example, the Chinese and Japanese words for love also included the character of a heart. this connection does seem to make sense, because when you're rejected in love, which part of your body hurts the most? This feeling is probably universal. Now, anyone who has ever been in love knows that your heart beats faster when you see that special person, and when you lose them, you feel a pain in your chest. "I have a heavy heart" or "my heart is broken" are phrases we use when our love goes wrong. Now, we understand why the heart is linked to love. But the next question is, how did this shape become connected to the heart? Well, one of the earliest possible depictions of the heart as a symbol of romantic love comes from France in the 13th century, found in a manuscript called The Romance of the Pear. In one of the pages, there's a drawing of a kneeling lover. It seems like he's offering his heart to a damsel. This heart looks like a pine cone turned upside down, which really matches the medieval descriptions of the heart. But the heart shape we see is partly hidden, and the manuscript's title suggests that the object could even possibly be a pear. So we are not sure if this is truly the first depiction of a heart as a symbol of romantic love. However, the Bodleian Library in Oxford have a manuscript titled The Romance of Alexander that was completed in the 14th century. In one of the bottom corners of the pages has a drawing that looks a little similar to the heart shape we recognize today, making this unquestionably one of the earliest hearts symbolizing romantic love. Now, during the 14th century, the drawings of the human heart slowly shaped itself into the heart icon that we now know today. In Germany, inside the lid of a medieval Coffret, there's a depiction of the German goddess of love, aiming an arrow at a young man who offers his heart to her. The words on the Coffret says, "Gracious lady, I have surrendered, and lady, send me solace, my heart has been wounded." The heart on this Coffret looks identical to the modern heart shape that we know, and it represents romantic love as a playful battle between the suitor and beloved. Then, by the early 15th century, there's a famous tapestry from France called The Offering of the Heart, showing a man holding a small red heart. This fully formed heart shape was used to symbolize courtly love, a set of rules about love that was popular among the rich elites and high societies, and was reflected in many of the literature and poetry. However, at this time, while the heart shape was associated with love for the rich and wealthy, it had not yet become known as a symbol of love for the general public. Over the years, the heart shape did become more popular for the common folk, but they were mostly used for decoration of many different objects. For example, in the Middle Ages, heart-shaped books became really popular, reflecting the idea that the heart was a place of memory. And between the 19th to the 20th century, the heart shape also appeared on German birth certificates, often decorated with ink and watercolor drawings. Around the same time, heart-shaped religious items also became common. As the church spread the message of loving God and all his creatures, also known as the virtue of caritas, the heart becomes an even stronger symbol. It started appearing in religious art books and stained glass windows as the Sacred Heart, representing a deep love for all humanity. Now, another famous example is the Miraculous Medal, an important devotional medal from the Catholic Church featuring two heart symbols. The heart of Jesus is surrounded by thorns, symbolizing his suffering and sacrifice, while the heart of Mary is pierced by a sword, representing her sorrow and compassion. So, over the centuries, the symbolism of the heart shape continued to change. But in the modern day, why the shape became so famous as a symbol of love was because of a major event that happened in 1977, when the heart shape finally became a verb. So, at this time, New York City was in a severe crisis, with trash filling up on the streets, an increase in crime, and was near bankruptcy. To boost morale and to increase tourism, the New York State Department hired graphic designer Milton Glaser to create a new logo for the city. So, Glaser came up with a simple yet genius design. While Glaser was in a taxi ride, on a piece of paper, he sketched the letter I, followed by a heart shape and the letters NY. This logo represented the new slogan, "I love New York," with the heart literally symbolizing love. And perhaps it was inspired by the pop art image from 1964. Glazer then stacked the I and the heart shape above the NY characters. He thought the campaign would only last for a few months, but once the logo was placed on plain white t-shirts and widely sold, the striking image was immediately loved by both locals and tourists, and the logo quickly became the most recognizable symbol, closely associated with New York City. The design was such an incredible success that it suddenly turned into a pop culture icon, inspiring countless imitations all around the world, turning the red heart into a famous symbol of love. Then, 22 years later, a new graphic form would also bring the popularity of the heart into a whole new level. In 1999, the Japanese mobile provider NTT Docomo released the first set of emojis for their mobile phones. The original set of 176 symbols included 5 emojis related to the heart. Now, even though this was not the first emojis that was created, it was the first to become instantly successful. It was copied by all the rival mobile companies, including the Japanese version of the Apple iPhone. Years later, when Apple released a much larger set of emojis for the global market, the heart shape has suddenly become an important part of global communication. So, if you really think about it, the heart shape is just a shape like any other. On its own, it doesn't actually mean anything. But over time, a collective understanding had given the shape so much meaning that it became a powerful icon capable of breaking language barriers. Now, it is the ultimate symbol of love, understood by most people around the world.